Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk HR show with myself, Jack Nolan, and my special guest today, Louise Fairhurst. So, Louise, what does HR mean to you?
Okay, so HR for me is people focused, people engagement, everything people related really. So it's looking after your staff, looking after your managers, looking after your team.
That's brilliant. So I'm going to move swiftly into the next question. And that is, what inspired you and influenced you to work within HR?
So I think previously I was a manager in an operations function, and obviously you go to HR and ask them questions about managing your team and things like that. And I just thought, looking from the outside in, it's quite a varied role. You never know what you're going to get. Every day is different, and for me, I just really found that quite interesting. So for me, I sort of fell into HR by mistake. I didn't actually choose the profession, but it's once I got into it, I just thought, wow, I really enjoy it. I literally sell the profession to everybody I meet, because most people don't know what it is. And I know when I was at school, for example, it was never, you were always told you can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be an electrician. There was never, you can be a HR professional. So it was always, I don't think it was just one of those support functions behind the scenes that people didn't really think of as a career as such.
Yeah, of course. But it's a very valuable position as well. You know what I mean? It's a very valuable role to play, and not just play, actually own. You know what I mean? Because you're actually helping people's development. You're dealing with stressful situations on a daily. So you got to be almost like a firefighter, putting out fires everywhere, and you're trying to help move people forward in the career and professions and in their own life. You know what I mean? To become better employees, and you're also managing with the emotions and the distress as well, or colleagues who might be going through mental health related issues or stress at home, stressing within the professional life. So you are essentially a firefighter, if we could call you that, metaphorically speaking, of course. So another question that I wanted to ask you was, why did you choose to work in your current organisation?
So for me, it's a big brand, and I think I'd heard a few stories about it, and I thought, you know what, I wanna see for myself really. And for me, it's very people focused. Like the previous company that I worked for was driven a lot by finances and whether you're making a profit and all that sort of stuff. Whereas this is very people focused. Like they really value their employees, and without the employees, there's no business, basically.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more there. Like, if the employees are not happy, then the workforce is going to have that knock-on effect, and then essentially the business isn't going to be able to operate if there's no employees to run that business and move it forward. So that's bang on. I couldn't agree with you more. Another question what I've got for you is, how important is mental and emotional well-being of the workforce?
Oh, it's massively important. I think if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're not doing your job properly. You're prone to having accidents and things like that. Or, there's, if you're not in the right state of mind, you're not concentrating, you're not feeling your best, and these things tend to spiral out of control as well, because I'm a trained mental health first aider. And I've only been doing that for about the last year or so. And, to sit down and see what people are actually going through. Like, I think a lot of the time when you're in a working environment, you don't know what's going through people's heads, what's going on outside of work. And I think as HR, people tend to think of us as counsellors and psychologists, and you're sometimes your people's mums, you're all sorts of things to them. And for me, it's so massively important, especially since lockdown as well. I mean, most people don't realise how that has massively impacted people. And a lot of people are really strong and don't show it on the outside, but could be absolutely in turmoil on the inside.
Absolutely. It's like an invisible war, isn't it, that we're all fighting, and no one wants to sort of own it and say, look, this is what I'm going through. And that's why I'm quite passionate about the work I do. We're speaking about it and sharing them, and positive messages that vulnerabilities are a strength, you know what I mean? Because if we don't share those vulnerabilities, then how are we supposed to support each other and know how to support each other if we're not willing to share what's actually going on? So that's...
Yeah, and I think attitudes have definitely changed. And I think years ago, if people was off with stress or mental health issues or depression or anything like that. It was like, oh, here we go, you know, someone's taking the mickey or whatever. But I think now it's talked about a lot more, you know, it's in the public eye. You've seen the footballers doing you know, taking the knee and all that sort of stuff, you know, all sorts of things going on. But it's yeah, it's more talked about now. So I think people are more open and honest about it and are willing to share their stories.
Absolutely, that's great. It's really great that you see that as well, and you know that change in perspective on how people are experiencing their own mental health and how they're sharing and being open about it, which is massive. So, what strategies have you found beneficial to support your employees' well-being and development?
So I think obviously we've got the usual tools like occupational health, and we've got like an employee assistance program where people have got counsellors on hand 24/7, and there's advice and support on things like financial issues, if you're having marriage problems, you know, anything like childcare issues, all sorts of different things. But I think for me, it's about training the managers and making sure they spot the signs and at least signposting people to the right place. Because at the end of the day, I'm a trained mental health first aider. You go on a course, but you're not a professional.
Yeah.
And all you can do is sit and listen and signpost people to get the help that they need, whether that's their GP or the Samaritans or, you know, whatever it is that they need. And that's all it is for me. I think it's just having that support mechanism in place, like having somewhere that people can go if they need to have that conversation away from the workstation, you know, with their manager. So a nice quiet area where they can just go and have that, you know, meaningful conversation.
That's brilliant, honestly, because again, the meaningful conversations, they all add up. And if someone's bottling everything up inside because they're distressed at home and in professional life, then it can explode. And, you know, they could end up in situations like where I was, where they got sectioned or unwell or in hospital, mental health hospitals. And it's not the best place to be, honestly. I've been there twice and I won't recommend it. And that's why I think it's so important that we have those honest conversations. And like I said, signposting things so that people know what to do. You know what I mean? And if they do need to get that help, we can give them that help like that. You know what I mean? Being able to automatically put them into a system where there's that self-care and that caring from not just themselves, but their employer as well, to be able to notice that we're here to look after you like a family. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like there are many hats as a HR person. You're a big sister to some people, you're a mother to some people, you're a friend, you're a co-worker, you're a colleague, you're everything. You know what I mean? Because you spend a lot of time at work. So again, like, having that support system in place is massive, and I have a lot of admiration for your company for doing that. Moving straight on to my next question, coming to the end, we got through it quite quickly, but hey, it's all good. You're smashing it. So, in your experience, what have you found creates great leadership within your teams?
So I think great leadership for me is someone who you can look up to. You know, I've had managers in the past who I've actually thought, you know what, I can do the job better than you. But I think for me, it's somebody who you can learn from, who can develop you, who gives you the recognition, who gives you the time to stretch yourself, and time for one-to-ones and things like that, and just being really open and honest and sharing information. I mean, communication is the biggest key for me in terms of leadership, of being open and honest with people, telling them what you think. You know, if you spot something, pull it off and make sure it doesn't happen again, because quite often, especially in a HR environment, we get in a situation where things have happened and it's not the first time, and it could have just been knocked on the head and it should never have got to that stage. But I think if you haven't got a great leader, then that's when you get demotivation within your workforce, and people start to switch off and you lose productivity, you lose profitability, you know, there's all those sorts of things go on. And for me, the leader is the most important thing, because they're the ones that are driving. You know, the way I think of it, it's like a bus. They're the bus driver. And one of my old managers used to say, do you want to get on the bus with me? Do you know one of them? And it was like, and that's it. They're there to lead you, and you know, you should aspire to be like them and learn from them. And if you've got someone who's poor at communicating and things like that, it really switches people off.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more with you there. And like, it's that integrity of the leader, that they follow through on the actions that they say. They're true to the word. They're honest. They've got good communication skills, not just good, but great. You've got to be the best at it, and you know what I mean, within the organisation to be able to say, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is how I see things moving forward, and I understand what's going on in this situation, and this is what we're going to do to overcome them challenges, and you know, being really like present with the people in the workforce and the team. You know, like you said, being able to have the open door policy where people can just say, I need a quick 10 minutes to tell you about this problem, what's the solution, what do you think, blah, 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 how can we move forward? It's them quick connections with people to be able to say, you know, it's like there's a metaphor, I think there's a metaphor that says, I'd rather be the head of a mouse than the tail of a lion. And that's what leadership is, you know what I mean? Being the head, being the brains, to be able to say, this is where we're going to navigate. We can be big like a lion, but if we can't think straight and we can't communicate with each other and move forward, no matter how big or small we may be, then essentially how can we build the best business? And it all moving downwards from up to down. So again, coming towards the end of the podcast now. So I just wanted to say thank you so much again, Louise, for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions and your wisdom with us in the HR and mental health space. And I just wanted to say again, thank you to all the listeners who've been listening in, tuning into these little podcasts and getting a lot of value from them. So thank you so much again, Louise. And thank you to all the listeners. And I will see you again soon in another podcast shortly. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.